April 4, 2023. Just before dawn in London, a loud crash shatters the quiet silence of the street. You hear the shouts, "Police! Open up!" Armed officers rush inside through the front door, catching a sleepy suspect completely off guard. He stares down the barrel of a rifle in shock. At that exact same moment, thousands of miles away, coordinated raids unfold across 17 different countries. FBI agents are storming an apartment in New York. In Sydney, police batter down a door simultaneously. A massive, synchronized global takedown is now fully underway. This massive operation, which seemed to be operating at a military scale, had a surprisingly simple name: Operation Cookie Monster. The target of this global law enforcement effort was Genesis Market, a dark website that connected all these suspects. It was known within the digital underground as the Amazon of stolen identities. Over 100 arrests were made in the following hours as the net closed in. But the real question we have to ask is, how did one illegal website grow to become the go-to shop for cybercriminals worldwide? Furthermore, why did it require such an unprecedented global effort just to finally shut it down? The story begins back in 2018. Cybercrime was evolving, and professional criminals were facing a new roadblock. Hacking someone's password was no longer a free ticket into their financial accounts or personal data. More and more services began widely using two-factor authentication, or 2FA. This meant that even if a hacker managed to get the right login, they still got flagged with a message like, "Hey, this isn't the right device. Try again." Breaking into accounts was suddenly getting much harder for low-level criminals. Around this time, Genesis Market emerged quietly on the dark web, offering an exclusive, invitation-only solution. Genesis Market didn't sell simple passwords. It sold complete digital identity kits, which were secretly harvested from malware-infected computers across the globe. When a victim's machine was infected, the malicious software quietly collected every little piece of their digital life, saved logins, login cookies, and unique device fingerprints. Genesis took all that data from one computer and packaged it into what they called a bot. Each bot included everything a criminal needed to instantly impersonate someone online. This included emails, crucial bank logins, web cookies, and the device's specific fingerprint. Genesis Market then put these bots up for sale to the highest bidder, and the prices were often shockingly low. A full digital identity could sell for just a few dollars, sometimes even less than a cup of coffee. A package with banking info for a UK victim might go for under $1. Even premium sets, such as a wealthy person's bank login or a bundle of corporate accounts, were priced affordably, usually under a couple $100s at most. The site's operators made sure it was simple for buyers to find exactly what they wanted. You could filter by country or search for a specific service type. This was the ultimate one-stop shop for identity theft, an Amazon-like bazaar where career criminals could fill a shopping cart with people's stolen lives. As a result, business was booming. This specific market quickly became the new, frightening face of cybercrime in the digital age. But understanding the true threat requires knowing how these stolen identity kits actually worked. What could a criminal truly accomplish with just a few cookies and stolen session data? We need to put ourselves in the shoes of a hacker to see how Genesis Market completely changed the game. Let's consider a small-time criminal named Alex, who gained access to Genesis. He spends a few dollars worth of Bitcoin to purchase a bot for a victim we'll call Sarah. The bot instantly provides Alex with Sarah's saved login, her essential cookies, and her device's specific digital fingerprint. Alex then uses a custom browser tool called the Genium browser, provided by Genesis, to load Sarah's stolen profile. Suddenly, the hacker's computer is digitally disguised as Sarah's own laptop. When Alex navigates to Sarah's bank website, the bank greets him like an old, trusted friend. This is because, from the bank's security perspective, the login looks exactly like Sarah's usual legitimate access. It's the same browser, the same computer fingerprint, and there is a valid cookie that indicates Sarah is already logged in. There is no password required, no security question asked, and critically, no 2FA prompt. Alex is instantly inside Sarah's bank account within seconds. He quickly initiates a fraudulent transfer of funds to himself. Sarah is asleep at home while this happens, and her phone does not buzz with any authentication code. She doesn't receive an alert for a new login because, according to the bank's sophisticated systems, there wasn't a new login at all. It appeared to the system that it was just Sarah continuing an existing, legitimate session. By the time Sarah wakes up and notices her money is missing, the thief is long gone. This is how Genesis broke fundamental digital security. Criminals like Alex didn't need to be elite hackers or coding geniuses. Genesis made it simple and point-and-click easy to quickly rob someone's online accounts. This type of theft boils down to those stolen cookies. A cookie is a small file that websites use to remember you, effectively acting like a temporary ID badge that lets you bypass the login process. If a criminal steals both your cookie and your device fingerprint, they essentially steal your active online identity. They are able to put on a perfect digital disguise and walk right past the complex security protocols, effortlessly bypassing multi-factor authentication and anti-fraud checks. Genesis Market essentially turned identity theft into an accessible, scalable service. Genesis dramatically lowered the skill barrier for organized cybercrime. Even low-level fraudsters could suddenly pose as dozens of different people online, accessing corporate networks and personal accounts. The FBI determined Genesis was a key enabler for major international fraud gangs, allowing them to scale their operations faster than ever before. By 2022, Genesis boasted that it had over 80 million account credentials in its inventory, originating from more than 2 million individual victims. These were ordinary people, not just wealthy CEOs or billionaires. Anyone unlucky enough to have their home computer infected by the wrong malware could end up with their identity sold on Genesis. The criminals weren't the only ones watching Genesis grow. The invisible crime wave it created was getting too big to be ignored. Law enforcement agencies around the world began realizing that the reports of security warnings being bypassed all pointed back to one source: Genesis Market. In the shadows, the global investigation began. The FBI, Europol, and law enforcement agencies from almost 20 nations quietly formed a team to target the market. They started by following the money and the malware that fed the illicit site. The big break came when law enforcement managed to secretly obtain copies of Genesis Market's back-end servers. In that moment, agents gained access to the platform's user database, a comprehensive list of the buyers and sellers who had been active on Genesis. The systems they obtained included crucial information on about 59,000 user accounts and their activity logs. The very data that criminals thought would keep them completely anonymous was now securely in the hands of law enforcement. Using these detailed records, investigators began the painstaking process of unmasking the real identities behind the screen names. They found users scattered globally, from small-time fraudsters to key organized crime figures. The operation moved into its final, crucial phase: international coordination. The final strike required incredible precision, with teams in Europe, North America, and Australia synchronizing their clocks. They mapped out a massive strike, ensuring that targets in different countries would be hit at the exact same moment to prevent any early warning. The date was set for the global takedown, April 4, 2023. Just before dawn that day, the trap was fully sprung. In dozens of major cities, officers executed raids simultaneously, catching Genesis Market's customers completely off guard and making roughly 120 arrests. Authorities conducted around 200 searches overall. At the exact same time, Genesis Market's infrastructure was systematically dismantled. Visitors to the site's usual homepage were met with a stark message: a banner displaying the FBI seal and the logos of agencies from 17 participating nations. The site had been seized and was officially offline. The marketplace that had once offered data from more than 1.5 million compromised computers was wiped out in a single day. For the thousands of cyber criminals who had relied on it, panic set in as they realized their accounts and transaction histories were known to law enforcement. Operation Cookie Monster was a landmark victory. Europol announced proudly that they had severely disrupted the criminal cyber ecosystem by removing one of its biggest enablers. Taking down Genesis sent massive shock waves through hacker communities worldwide. However, the case also serves as a broader, critical alarm. This cybercrime documentary shows us that the vulnerability Genesis exploited, the ability to steal a saved login session, is still wide open. Genesis Market exposed how fragile our digital safeguards truly can be. So, what are the essential takeaways for prevention and recovery in this new landscape? First, we must understand that traditional 2FA does not stop cookie theft. For critical accounts, especially banking and email, we strongly recommend using a physical security key, such as a YubiKey. You should also use a trusted password manager, which prevents you from accidentally typing your password into a malicious or unauthorized website. Finally, make it a habit to log out and regularly clear cookies for your most sensitive sites, like your bank. This forces a new login session and invalidates any cookie a hacker might have already stolen. The dark web's Amazon for stolen identities might be gone, but the sophisticated tactics it pioneered are here to stay. Genesis Market showed us the complex future of digital cybercrime. Now, what happens when kids, not career criminals, start breaching billion-dollar companies?